Okay. Good evening and welcome to the September 2024 Orange Board of Selectmen meeting. First item of business is to recognize our board. I'll start down on that side tonight.
Good evening, Mitch Goldblatt.
John.
Good evening, John Carangelo.
Ann Denny, Secretary to the Board.
Good evening, Judy Williams.
Good evening, and thank you for being here, PJ Shanley.
And Vincent Marino coming in the door. Thank you. Okay. Since we have a full crowd tonight, in the event of an emergency, I think everybody probably came down this stairway to your left, my right. That would be the first means to leave in the event of an emergency. If for some reason you couldn't all exit that way, if you go down the hallway, down the back, would lead out to the stairs that would put you out by the firehouse parking lot. Or if you go up the stairs behind the wall with the clock on it through the double doors and out the front would put you out in front of the town hall in the event of an emergency. I don't anticipate any, but you never know. It could be all of a sudden start raining or snowing or sleeting or something, anything. With that said, I ask that we rise as normal for a Pledge of Allegiance, but then we're also going to take a moment of silence since today is 9/11. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Keeping your thoughts and prayers for all those people that lost their lives and their families that are still going on while missing some of their families, and all those police and firefighters that rushed in as the others were rushing out. Thank you. Okay. Already did introductions. I was ahead of myself. Public participation. Public participation is for any item that is not an agenda item. We allow 2 minutes per speaker on any of those items. And I can tell there's at least, oh, wow, Mr. Pisano, yes, would like to be first today. And please sign in so that Ann can know who it is. I mean, we know Tom, but we don't know.
Tom Paisano, 523 Fairway Road, Orange, Connecticut, Orange Soccer Association president for 37 years. I just wanted to give you good news today. After all my concerns about the playground at Fred Wolf Park, I got to tell you, I've been there for a couple of seasons, and the parking is ample, and the number of people using the playground is tremendous, and we've had no interruptions between the parking of the soccer and lacrosse at this time. So I'm really glad to, announce that. I was concerned about that for quite a while.
We know.
I am still trying to get more information. I know I missed a meeting at Fred Wolf Park Ad Hoc Committee, and hopefully I can get some minutes from that meeting. Because I still want to be a participation in helping the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. That's wonderful. Yeah, really. And there is, Tom, they did meet, and the engineers have been down there. That Dominic, I think, is leading this project, and he's been there and has checked in with John. I got to get used to this. John has sat in the same seat over there for 15 years. Now I got to get used to he moved. But that project is coming along very well, and I think with time, B&L Engineering, I think they'll do a lot of more work for the town with that project. Public participation. We allow 2 minutes per speaker on the topic. You already heard me sign in, and you know that part.
All right. Good evening. Well, thank you guys for the time. My name is Scott Gaudette. I live at 485 Woodruff Lane in Orange. We're here this evening seeking your support on the intervention at an upcoming Connecticut Siting Council meeting on September 24th. As you know, our neighborhood is facing the proposed installation of a new cell tower in a wooded area on the corner of Old Tavern and Woodruff Roads. There are 32 Milford and Orange families living within 1,000 feet of this proposed tower. Some families, including mine, with homes less than 500 feet from the site. The details on this project can be found on the Connecticut Siting Council website, docket 523. While we understand the importance of advancing technology and improving communication infrastructure, we believe that this cell tower would have detrimental effects to the environment and ecology of our area. In addition, it would damage scenic and historic values in our small farming community and would have negative impacts on the overall welfare and finances of dozens of families in our community. Beyond any potential health risks from a cell tower, there'll be a significant impact to aesthetics on our area with the disruption of a wetland and floodplain where this proposed site and its 120-foot tower would be sitting. While we understand Verizon and their need to seek improved serviceability and remain competitive in the marketplace, we're left with one true question, which is, what is the need for this? Based on Verizon's own coverage maps, any existing deficit in signal strength is west of the proposed tower and actually in the city of Milford. Currently, there are no demonstrated inabilities to make a 911 call, and in fact, Verizon already operates the two cell towers closest to 425 Old Tavern Road, both within 1.5 miles. They also have a third tower that's 1.7 miles away. If this tower moves forward, it would be the fourth tower that Verizon would be operating, and they would essentially be leasing the space to other carriers, all within a 2-mile radius of this site. We're asking that the members of this delegation join us on the Siting Council meeting and speak on our behalf in opposition to this tower in this residential location. If there is a true public service need, we ask that you work together with the Milford City Hall to find a better location that will be less impact to our community. We have data supporting these points that I've outlined here, and we're happy to work with you to look for alternative sites. We greatly value your commitment to representing the interests of our constituents. Thank you.
You practiced that, you made it right to the wire.
Hi, I'm Rachel
Sign in.
Gaudet.
Sign in.
Oh, sure.
That's only so the minutes reflect who spoke.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rachel Gaudet. That was my wonderful husband, and as he stated wonderfully, I live at 485 Woodruff Road or Woodruff Lane, Orange, and I would like to speak to the concerns regarding the impact this cell phone tower would have to our inland wetlands. The proposed site resides in a small sliver of land wedged in between two large wetlands and multiple streams, Stubby Plain Brook and Carls Brook. Note the wetlands impact report from Selco Verizon only references one stream, Carls Brook. This area floods regularly. History of water over the road on Woodruff Road and at the corner of Woodruff Road, Old Tavern and Burn Plains. Water travels into the neighborhood, yards, homes, and the homes of Milford neighbors in this area. They're all in a GIS flood zone AE, and the entire proposed site is in 1% annual chance of flood. Note, based on FEMA flood map, the last survey was done in 2017. Entire area west of proposed site, Woodruff Road up to Ann Rose, and the rest in the east of the proposed site, Woodruff Road to Red Bush Lane, has a high water table, and residents have a history of water in their basements, garages, and yards. Stubby Plain Brook culverts are now being constructed or enlarged. 1/2 mile upstream in Orange are in the process of being enlarged on both Old Country Road and Coachman's Lane. Inevitably, this will increase water flow downstream to this area. There is no way to know what the impact of the additional water flow will be on this area. 25 large, or give or take 25 or more smart large trees will be removed from construction. Access road being built onto Woodruff Road will require grading and leveling. The disturbance already, this disturbance already will disrupt the ecosystem and have a negative impact on water issues. Additional wildlife and ecosystem disruptions will happen on the proposed site, and the proposed site is already a close proximity to Route 1. There's less and less woodlands and fewer undisturbed spaces in that area. These spaces are necessary for sustainable natural habitat and serve as a refuge for birds, bats, bees, deers, fox, and turtles. Based on this finding, from our town zoning and planning, we believe this cell tower would have a detrimental effect to the environment and ecology of our area and should be relocated to an alternative site. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Michelle Tenney, 327 Ann Rose Drive, Orange. I'm here to speak to you on the cell tower issue. As we stated, that this evening that we're seeking your support and intervention on the upcoming CT Siting Council meeting on September 24th. I would like to speak to concerns regarding the impact that this would have to the aesthetics of our community. We are not anti-technology or resistant to change in our towns. However, we do think this is important to put industrial and commercial structures where they belong. The preservation of residential areas in Orange and Milford should be a priority, and from as long as I've lived here, we have always had that as a priority in the 28 years that I've been here. As our community grows and evolves, we need to ensure that technology advancements do not come at the expense of the well-being and quality of the life of residents. The beauty of areas like Old Tavern Road is a key reason why families choose to live here, and it should be preserved against encroachments that would compromise its integrity. 120-foot tower would be visible for some all of the year for 2 miles from all directions. Based on Selco's report, average height of tree canopy in this area is 80 feet. This tower would be sitting squarely in the middle of quaint residential neighborhood in a farming community 2 to 3 stories above tree canopy. It will ruin aesthetics in historically significant and agriculturally centric area of our state. There are 3 homes, 434, 397, and 353 Old Tavern Road, Orange, built from 1816 through 1890. Treat Farm's White Barn is listed on the Historic Barns of Connecticut Registry. All buildings are located 2,000 feet or less from the proposed tower site. For towers under 200 feet tall, the area of potential effect, the APE, has been established by FCC Advisory Council on Historic Preservation and the National Conference of State Historic Preservation Officers at 0.5 miles. We have raised this concern with the State Historic Preservation Society. Our area is characterized by its tranquil residential nature with well-maintained homes and green spaces that contribute to its charm. The visual intrusion of and perceived potential health hazards caused by a cell tower will affect the appeal of many nearby properties. Research indicates that over 90% of home buyers and renters are less interested in properties near cell towers and would pay less for a property in close vicinity to cellular antennas. Studies show that property values for homes near cell towers decrease by 2 to 40%. Homes located close to the cell towers sit on the market longer and sell for less. For homeowners in Orange and Milford, this will translate to a loss of investment and a diminished quality of life. I'm one of those people. It's really, honestly, please consider.
Thank you. I sign in, you already know that.
Yep.
Hello, my name is Michelle Alicki. I live at 315 Ann Rose Drive, and as Scott Gaudet stated earlier, we have about 51 towers and 203 antennas within a 3-mile radius of the proposed site. The 2 closest towers, each within 1.5 miles, are both operated by Verizon, with a third tower 1.7 miles away. Currently, there is no demonstrated inability to make 911 call or deficit in service. When asked by the Sitting Council if they had any statistics on dropped calls or ineffective attempts, Cellco Verizon's response was that dropped calls are no longer a metric for Cellco's determination of where towers need to be placed. Today, Cellco measures the user experience based on the data speeds, downlink user perceived throughput, delivered to its users has established a minimum of 5 Mbps, megabytes per second, standard for its service to be considered reliable. It appears through their response that deficit in signal strength in neighboring towers is not current state, but will be in exhaust by the end of 2025. It also appears that the technical need for this tower could be achieved through a series of small cell distributed antenna system nodes versus creating a macro cell, while theoretically and technically possible to install a large number of small cells or distributed antenna system nodes in the area that could closely match the coverage footprint of the proposed Milford East facility. This solution would not be optimal, would also be more expensive for Cellco to build out, and would not include benefits of leasing to other carriers. Ultimately, Verizon is merely trying to enhance their product offerings to their customers, i.e. offering in-home Wi-Fi that would compare with Optimum and Frontier and create new revenue streams by renting the space on the tower to other wireless providers. The tower owner will also seek the collocation of other commercial wireless carriers on the facility to accelerate its recovery of such capital costs. And if Verizon's deal to purchase Frontier is approved, they will have ownership of the 3 towers closest to the site and access to the wired infrastructure for Frontier operates in our area.
Thank you. Dr. Dan?
How are you? My name's Dr. Dan Davis. I'm 450 Clement Lane, an Orange resident here for 42 years plus. I am hoping that, again, that you're hearing the message here from the people that live near where this solar tower is proposed. They will tell you that the Siting Council has no warning that says don't worry about health issues. You can't even let it be a decision in your decision-making capability. And I would tell you that if we don't consider health issues, then you really got to reorganize your brain to say, why are we here? You know, and you say, well, you know, and the FCC has made these regulations based on 1996, where they decided to study what are the radiation factors coming out of cell towers. They still feel the power lines have no issues, and yet I will tell you medically that that is absolutely not true. We see it all the time. We see the rates of leukemia in children. We see that's just from the basic power lines, but now they're recognizing the same things are happening from cell towers. And you think, well, it happened back in, and you look, there's a good instance. The Pittsfield, Massachusetts Board of Health voted to shut down the Verizon cell tower that was there. This was back in 2022, April 6th to be exact, because they found that there were more and more people becoming health injuries related to the cell tower. And you look at how many countries now have absolutely, when they set up a cell tower, they can't be near children. They can't be near firehouses, gentlemen, because that's where they used to put them up, saying, oh, they're going to radiate from here. You're not allowed to do that in many states in the United States because they recognize that the EMF from the cell towers are dangerous. They're dangerous to little kids. They're dangerous to firefighters. And we're not supposed to say this is a health issue. That's why we're here, to protect the citizens of this town as well as those in Milford. And you look and say, well, you know, things don't change that much. Take a look at your Teflon pans. How many people are still using Teflon pans? Let me tell you something. You're in absolute danger from forever chemicals. And they're recognizing how many cancers they cause and the health issues. And this was back in the 1960s and now are coming to light. And how many people have died as a result of it. We're looking at putting up a potential issue here that is going to affect the citizens of this town. And it is a health issue. And I know they say, oh, you can't consider it. I implore you that you do. That you have to look beyond a law that was set up by these companies to ensure that they can go out and do whatever they darn well please. It is time for us to take a stand on this as a town to say, this is not right, this is not safe, and it's time for us to do something and say, It is time to put a hold on that tower and actually start to consider what other health issues are going on in this town. Thank you.
Sign in, yeah.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you for facilitating this. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm Glenn McInnes. I live at 905 Rainbow Trail. I'm here with my wife today. And I have a concern and multiple questions. And my concern is, at least in our neighborhood, multiple cable company installations, disruption to our whole neighborhood that we've experienced over the last 2 years. I'll go back 2 years ago when Frontier came in, no communication, put up flags, spray painted everyone's lawn, acted like they were going to do something, and then suddenly left. This August, no communication, flags, spray painted everyone's lawn, multiple flags. We did get a communication eventually from a company called Telenetworks on July 30th, which, as far as I can tell, is either a subcontractor or a maybe even subcontractor of Comcast. And what it said, and I have copies of all this, it said, we're advising the homeowners that it's your responsibility to go out and mark your sprinklers, your dog fence, and everything like that, because we're coming. And we have the right to dig. We have an easement 8 feet from the road, and we're going to do what we need to do. It's up to you to protect your property. I object to that. I called a number of people. I called the town engineer. I'm not sure if he's here tonight. We had the conversation. I also have another outstanding call with you. It didn't seem like there was much that the town was doing as far as managing it. Again, I tried to talk to the workers, quite frankly. Most of them didn't speak my language. Yeah, so that was a problem. I did get a call from somebody from the sub or subcontractor named Brian that sort of tried to give me a sense of comfort that they were going to do this sub-digging and stuff like that. But if you fast forward now to September, they've actually dug up driveways, they've dug up our street, they've cut the street, they've replaced it with pebble. They have 2 other areas where they cut it, and they haven't done anything since then. They dug, then Optum was in on top of them, digging right where they were, and dug holes, left holes there, left pipe there. I had the opportunity, and thank you, Selectman Goldblatt, because he came Saturday morning. I took him on a tour, and he took photos. Again, I have photos if you need them for the record. My point is this: they dug up our streets, they dig up our curves, they dig up our lawns, they dig up our driveways, and I don't understand. My experience has led me to tell them point blank, you're not digging up my property until I get something from Comcast or some indemnification that they're going to fix everything that they touch. And I want that to be on record. And I also want to understand, and I realize I'm running out of time, but there's got to be someone, a single point of contact here that is someone we can talk to, and I'm talking on behalf of my neighborhood, about this. And there has to be a plan. And I would love to see the plan that says, this is what we're doing, this is when we're going to be done. I don't know if they're done or not. They come, they go, they work in a flurry, they leave stuff all around, and they're gone for weeks. And then they come back again and do it again. We never know if they're really done or not. And so those are the things I want. And some kind of letter I would hope that the town has from Comcast or Optum that says they're responsible to replace everything that's been disrupted. That's all I have. Thank you.
I will attempt to answer your questions.
Okay.
But with the others, we have multiple things going here. So public participation, anybody else? Chief? And Chief?
Good evening.
You have Chief and Fire Marshal. You might just briefly speak. Has there been any, and Chief Dumas was also for a career police officer in Milford. Maybe you have any knowledge to their referral about 911 drop calls since you're up here.
Yeah, I'm currently a manager of a 911 dispatch center too, but it's in Region 1. The cell providers actually have extended a lot of service. We don't get a lot of call drops anymore at all. And it's also the GPS and the locations of them are sending them pretty much to the right place. Like if you're on the Merritt Parkway in Orange here, it actually goes to the state police. It doesn't come to the local most of the time. Sometimes it may catch a different cell tower, but for the majority of the time, it does go right to the state police. So,
So you can't get more direct than that. So,
All right. So thank you for having me here tonight. I'm Vaughn Dumas. I live at 307 Great Oak Road, and I'm the fire chief of Orange for the last 6.5 years. I'd like to extend my gratitude to the Board of Selectmen who have been supportive of the Orange Volunteer Fire Association for many years, even before my tenure, but especially during the last 6.5 years of my tenure. Deputy Chief Sherwood and I have worked with our financial committee and our investment management companies for several months to plan the financial future of our fire department. We are proud of the budgets that we've prepared in the past and we've maintained under our current leadership. Monetarily, the long-range plan is in danger. For nearly 100 years, the Orange Volunteer Fire Association has been able to sustain much of our budget by way of donations and events. We rely heavily on unpredicted revenue from voluntary contributions. Deputy Chief Sherwood delivered some packets that contain a problem statement, a 3-year look back of all the financial reports from the Orange Volunteer Fire Association, and what we believe would be a remedy to the problem. We're not asking for a comment or a review of these documents tonight. It's anticipated that this topic will require much discussion and feedback from everyone who has the opportunity to read and digest the information that's in those packets. We foresee partnering with the Board of Selectmen in the future to discuss this plan and any alternative plan that you guys may come up with that's different than this. We're open to other suggestions. We'd like to address these financial predictive challenges. This is not an urgent need, which is why we did not ask for an agenda item at the meeting. We're just presenting information. Our proposed plan is predicted to begin in our fiscal year of 2026, but we'd like to take time to plan cohesively, decide on a plan that's best for all of us and the delivery of fire and rescue services in the town of Orange. As a manager in law enforcement before I became the 911 dispatch center and the fire service, I often tell staff it's easy to come up with a problem, but leadership shows the ability to present a solution to that problem. That's exactly what we've presented to you for review. Again, if you have alternatives, if you have solutions, if a liaison can be appointed to work with us, we would like to work and hear what other solutions you may have for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Any other public participation? Mrs. Shaw? Town Clerk, Mrs. Mary Shaw.
Good evening. Mary Shaw, Town Clerk. I live at 19 Muirfield Drive. I'm here to just talk about the election that's coming up. Kind of a public service announcement about your options on how to vote this year. We all know we can go to the polls if we're able to do that. That's the number one option that you have. Number two is always absentee, if that applies to you. We're currently getting lots of applications for absentee ballots that will go out the beginning of October. To those who fill out the application and tell us the reason why they can't vote in person.
Haven't done enough.
The third and most new option you have is to vote early. I left a flyer on the selectmen's, each at your places that you're sitting. I left some over there for anybody in the audience that likes to take one. But early voting is taking place from October 21st to November 3rd. It's 2 weeks prior to the election date of November 5th. And what is happening there is that just like you would go to the polls, you would come here and vote. So there are hours that include the weekends and even up to 8 o'clock a couple of nights during the week. So it's coming this way. It is an option for any voter to come and do that. The only difference, like I say, besides that and absentee ballot is once you go to the polls, whether it be on November 5th or in early voting, your vote is done. If you vote absentee, you have that ability to maybe change your mind. So, does anybody have any questions for me? I just wanted to let everybody know. Yes, early voting is going to take place here in Town Hall, not at High Plains Community Center,
In this room.
in this room.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anybody? Yep, yes, ma'am.
This is regarding the cell tower, and what about alternative sites? Hello, my name is Suzanne Usey. I live at 27 Red Cedar Circle in Orange. As stated earlier, we are here this evening seeking your support and intervention at the upcoming Connecticut Siting Council meeting on September 24th. I would like to raise thoughts on potential alternative locations for a tower. If there is a true public service need for an additional tower in this area, further research on location is warranted to identify a site with less community impact. Based on the Siting Council's stated responsibilities, one of their areas of focus is, quote, promoting the sharing of telecommunications tower in order to avoid their unnecessary proliferation, unquote. While it may not meet the financial goals, the tower's real estate investment trust, the financial backer of Celco, why not co-locate these 9 towers on the cell towers at Mexico, Tipico, or the Merritt Parkway Extension 56? If co-location is not an option, is there an opportunity to look at additional commercial or industrial areas? Could the Walmart parking lot at 1357 Boston Post Road in Milford, the Milford Mall Stop and Shop parking lot, 1360 Easttown Road, Milford, work? Have they considered exploring open spaces, public use land, power company property? In 2009, Verizon was looking to place the Milford East Tower at the YMCA at 631 Orange Avenue, Milford, Connecticut. That was shot down, however, over the city's objections. The Siting Council granted Verizon approval the placement for this tower at another location, Eisenhower Park, at 780 North Street in Milford, Connecticut, 1 mile from where we are as the crow flies. Ultimately, Verizon decided not to move forward with the tower at that time. In reality, any deficit in Verizon coverage based on their own coverage map is to the west of our site at 425 Old Tavern Road and closer to Eisenhower Park. Eisenhower Park site is 230-acre park that is already bisected by 110-foot high voltage power lines. Seems like a much better fit away from the homes than sandwiching the same size tower on and in wetlands in a residential street. Thank you.
Anybody else? Public participation? No?
Thanks, Jim. For public participation, Mary's still here. I want everyone to be aware that on November 5th, or if you vote early, or if you vote absentee, there is a question on this year's ballot that people may not be aware of. We all know about the candidates. We should know about the candidates. But there's a question that would extend absentee ballot voting in the state of Connecticut to be no excuse voting. The early voting is no excuse voting. Right now, as Mary indicated, to vote absentee, you must have a particular reason that fits state statute. If you recall, during COVID, we were allowed to vote by absentee without an excuse, and and it worked well, at least in Connecticut it sure did, and I would encourage people to support that amendment that is on the ballot. It's a yes/no question. Some people won't think about it because they're too busy thinking about the candidates, but be aware that it's on the ballot, and if that does pass, it'll allow absentee ballots with no excuses in the future,
It may even cut back on the number of early voting days, which people have already criticized somewhat, and we'll see how it works for this November. So that's the first thing. The second thing is just to remind people that October 26th is our shredding day. Shredding mattresses as well, collecting household goods under the pavilion, et cetera, et cetera. And we also are taking electronic devices, but I will caution people that the electronic devices are not being taken free of charge. There is a charge because of the work involved with them, anywhere from $5 to $20, depending on the size of the device. Cell phones like $5, but if you're bringing in a personal computer, it'd be $20 and in between. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Just made it, huh, John?
Don't kill the bell guy.
Oh, what a
You know, you're on the job for 35 minutes and already making enemies.
Ralph is much more deliberate. We gotta work on it. I don't like this chick.
And on Mitch's comment about electronics, you can still bring electronics to the transfer station and just put them in the storage box there where they are picked up. But what they're doing helps defray the cost of that disposal because the town does pay for disposal of that equipment. Yes, Mitch?
It also just allows those people that feel uncomfortable leaving a personal device in the trailer, which I do encourage you to do, but who would rather see it, make sure it's going to be certified destroyed, that's what would take place if you bring it to the shredding day. But certainly, yes, Jim is correct. You can bring electronics to the transfer station anytime.
Okay. And the town, speaking to your voting thing, the registrars sat here for, I think, 10 days, all day long on weekends and all. I think we had 13 people ultimately come to vote early with that open door policy that was set up by the government, and it cost us, how many thousands, John? 6,000 or something like that for 13 people that came and took advantage of that. While we do have absentee voting available, if you're going to be away or something, I think that I encourage you to vote for the no excuse, or you don't have to provide an excuse for absentee ballot, because that would take the place of the early voting. And you go into the town clerk's office and file for it. You can fill it out there, or they will forward it to you at the appropriate time, and you can vote that way. And there's no reason now those people are going to be down here for 2 weeks prior to the election every day, waiting for somebody to come, when you can just go on the first floor to the clerk's office and fill out an absentee ballot and accomplish the same thing. So it's kind of a crazy redundancy there, I find, with that. PJ, anything? Yes, Doctor?
I know it might be out of thing, but is it possible to address this group regarding 9/11? I will keep it in 2 minutes, but I think it's a really good story considering we have so many firefighters here from our department, and it is extremely relevant to these people.
Let me just see if anybody else has anything here at the table, and then I usually answer last, so we'll fit you in after that. Anything? No. Okay, Judy?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Okay, if you'd like to come up and speak for your 2 minutes on that topic, we'll allow it, and then I'll answer a couple questions.
Again, Dan Davis, 450 Clement Lane, and I'm here on an auspicious day. Still comes back. In all my 44 years of medicine, 45 almost now, the best time I ever had in my entire medical practice was serving down at Ground Zero. For those of you who know how many of our first responders, people were going out, and the firefighters and police were going in, and we lost a lot of good people. We lost 42 fire trucks when the towers came down and smashed those trucks to an absolute pulp. And having worked, if anybody worked at Ground Zero, we worked at the Episcopal Church, which was right beside the tower that went down. That tower came straight down and then fell over, literally almost right beside that church. And interestingly enough, not one tombstone in the back part fell over, not one window was broken. But when you came into the building, there were two massive banners there, one from Oklahoma City, which sort of made sense, that's what they went through. But there was one from Charleston, South Carolina, that, honest to goodness, every time I worked there, nobody knew why that banner was there from Charleston, South Carolina. That was really nice, Tower Senate, but there was a story behind it, which, interestingly enough, the Orange Congregational Church minister had his sermon at the High Plains one Sunday when they were under construction, and it was on forgiveness. And at the Civil War, when the Civil War ended, there was bitter hatred between North and South. There was no sign of forgiveness whatsoever. But what was happening in Charleston, South Carolina, was the city was slowly burning down. They didn't have the equipment. The city was going to be lost. The Confederate general there said all is going to be lost in one of the most esteemed cities here. And the people of New York City took up a penny drive to raise enough money to send fire equipment down to Charleston, South Carolina. And when they did, and it was delivered, the Confederate general said he was so taken back, went into tears and said, if any evil ever basically hits the Empire City, we will repay this debt. And when 9/11 happened and the fire trucks went down, Charleston, South Carolina repaid the debt by sending a new fire truck to New York City with that banner on there saying, our hearts and prayers are with you. And hence the banner was raised. And it was the firefighters there that really began the forgiveness and joining North and South together again. And it was one of the things that I became the only person that actually knew that, and that finally filtered out through everybody else. But it was an absolute pleasure and honor to be down there at Ground Zero. And the one thing that if everybody was there again, one last thing, when they found anybody that was there was a lady playing bagpipes, and if you play Amazing Grace, when they found a person or a part of a person, it haunts me to the day in a way, but it still was amazing that they would be there. And this lady stood there the entire time. And we were the limb salvage part of things down there. We were the busiest section, hands down. But it was just good. And again, I want to say thank you to our firefighters who risked their lives when those situations happen, and for helping to join that North and South all the way back from the Civil War. So anecdotal, but all true. Thank you.
Thank you. That might be something that the chiefs might consider at one of their Tuesday night meetings, to have you come in and tell that to the membership, that they meet every Tuesday. I think mostly next door, not always, but mostly. That might be something that might be very moving to that entire group of men and women next door. Thank you for that. And I never heard that story about a penny drive and send it a new, and I'm a history person, so I find that extremely interesting. So, yeah. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we extend the time.
You can pass the bell to the next member.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
All right,
Welcome.
I'm going. Okay. I'm going to try to answer some of the thoughts from the public participation. Yes, I don't know if the others will be, probably Mitch, I'm not sure if everybody will participate, but on the Zoom for the Siting Council meeting regarding this cell tower at Woodruff Road, Old Tavern Road. I have spoken with the mayor of Milford, and I asked him about locating it at Eisenhower Park, and he kind of deferred from that. He was not enthused with that, and he said they had a cell tower there, and I wonder if that's the one that one of the speakers referred to a cell tower there, but then it didn't happen. I kind of think that something moved within Milford, because he said there was one proposed, but then we didn't have it there. We don't want it there. So that was it. But that, I did speak, finally, he called me back long after we had spoken about that, but that was from Mayor Gentasio. We're going to see what the Siting Council does. We've had dealings with the Siting Council before, and generally it doesn't go favorable. They stay autonomous, and I think they've done it for so long and so many years, they just have a calloused shell on them and just act with what they're doing. I also I did reach out to the Siting Council regarding the solar array that's currently being installed at Treat Farm on all that land out behind the white barn that you referred to. And as you see, if you drive by there, that's under construction. That's 8 to 10 acres of prime, important farmland there that is being developed as a solar array that the siting council approved. I still can't quite figure out how somebody from the Department of Agriculture sent a letter that it would have no impact on the agricultural property there, and you all know my roots, I don't quite understand how that works. So there is that also going in that area where all of you who spoke and who are representing that area are. If you see that, that's another project there. I'm going to speak to them as to why it has to go there. I've spoken to our wetlands officer also, because it's in the setback area of our wetlands, so that, but see, they circumvent and are autonomous to a lot of these regulations. However, I have spoken with Jack about it. Jack was submitting a letter that it is in that area, and I think Mr. Gaudet had spoken with him about that prior and post Jack and I meeting on it. So we have to wait and see what they do with that. That's really about it on that cell tower. Go ahead.
Excuse me. A number of the residents asked us collectively, I don't know if it meant us collectively or you as first selectman, to be an intervener in this situation.
And that's where we'll be on that call.
So that by being on the call makes us interveners?
You have to file an intervener status, but we have the right, we were notified to be on that call as the participant as the town of Orange,
Okay,
see? So,
all right.
yes, so we will be on that
Yep,
call.
okay.
And I have multiple questions as to why they think that needs to fit.
Right.
Let me answer.
Jim, let me ask
for
you a
now.
question real quick.
Yep,
Isn't Eisenhower Park a state park?
no,
It's in
City of Milford,
Is it really?
yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and there were other suggestions. People suggested putting it at Peck Place School and some of these other spots, but that's not going to work either. There's a large spot that is really far away from where the tennis courts and all used to be, but it's not far enough, and I think that putting it, no matter how far out in back of the school, would be a silly consideration. What was your question?
The culverts that are being enlarged.
Uh-huh. Coachman's Old Country.
Correct. The engineering firm that Verizon Selco hired about a year ago to do the soil testing,
Mhm.
to test the areas, I would think would be not valid anymore because we really don't know what the increased water flow is going to be down on that parcel of land now.
Well-
That a lot more water is going to be coming down. Is that accurate?
No, they're not increasing the amount of water. What they're doing is they're replacing what were 24 and 30-inch pipes, multiple pipes that have edges that all wrap into each other, that were catching a lot of debris and holding the water back because of that, to replacing those with box culverts, which are like 4 walls, the top, bottom, sides, so there are no dividers in there to catch the debris. So you're not increasing the water, you're just making the water more passable through there. It's the, water is increasing. No matter what you do, it is increasing because, look at Oxford, Seymour up there. Remember June 5th, I don't know, probably 40 years ago now, when the Grassy Hill Bridge washed out, when the Wepawa got flooded over there. We've seen it up in the Hartford region where the river floods onto a lot of land there. There's a lot of land up there that's not buildable. We had it right over on Brookside, Glenbrook, which is one of the other projects we're doing. We never had flooding there. And they had flooding where, their houses were full of water. Not just like around their yard. So Mother Nature is changing. There are more storms. That one that just happened up there in Oxford and Seymour and all, they had 10 to 12 inches of rain in 3 hours. In Orange, I can safely tell you this because I have lived through it multiple times, and Mitch before I, if they predict more than 3 inches of water in Orange in 3 hours or less, I can safely guarantee you there are certain areas in town that are going to flood no matter what. But the water doesn't even come like across all of Orange. It may hit all the way over by Dogwood Road. It may hit where it hit Brookside Glenbrook. It might hit right here on Tyler City Road. I've seen the Tyler City Road Bridge underwater. It's very strange, the storms we get and how they react, and it makes it very difficult, even with no rhyme or reason, for emergency response in some of these cases. And just remember, never drive over water. If you think there's a bridge there, there might not be. There was a man when that June 5th flood tried that on Grassy Hill Road, and unfortunately he died in his car, way back when. I think Charlie would probably remember that. He was here. Yeah, exactly, when the water subsided. There was a car all smashed into the trees, and there was a unfortunate soul in there. I mean, up in Oxford, how would you like to have been that, we're getting off of it a little bit, but that Oxford policeman who was trying to get to that woman hanging onto a street sign in the flooded water, and he couldn't get to her in time, and she lost her grip, and downstream she went. That man will live with that in his mind forever and ever. I mean, that's the horrific happenings of Mother Nature, and never underestimate it. I mean, I have a friend who has a vegetable farm out in Northford. In 13 minutes, he lost all of his crops on his farm for the rest of this year to hail. That was 2 weeks ago. I mean, the weather is just more and more unpredictable. Out west, Texas, the storms they're getting, it's just crazy. But anyhow, back to cell tower. So the cell tower situation, we will all be tuned in on that for that meeting. And we'll see what they provide. Yes, sir. If you're going to speak to it, you should if you're going to speak to it as a resident.
Okay. I also have some concerns about the cell tower, and right now, the Old Tavern, Woodruff, Burnt Plains Road does get water when there is a heavy rain. And if they do put this cell tower up, there's going to be a big concrete slab. Trees are going to be cut down. That water is going to have to go somewhere. And I understand what you're saying about the culvert. The water won't increase, but the property around there does flood when there is a heavy rain, and that water is going to go somewhere. And our street used to flood. Mr. Gabriel, God rest his soul, his yard would flood. The town came in, opened up the brook, and now our street doesn't flood. I mean, I don't know if Matt remembers, but the property across the street, my mother-in-law's house, I had some concerns about across the street when they did the Goddard School because the culvert was filling up. The culvert did get replaced. That water's going somewhere. It didn't go on my mother-in-law's property. Thank you.
Okay. As far as the other part to the commentaries with the cable, there were, I think, and Bob's going to have to nod at me, I believe there were 3 separate cable companies inundating us with cable. It looks terrible. I can't believe we need all of these different companies hanging their wires on the poles. That in itself is going to be a whole, as you put more weight on those poles, it pulls them left or right. In the neighborhoods where you have underground utilities, it was even more of a nightmare, and Mr. Britton was involved repeatedly in some of those because they were running, they weren't digging up some of the streets, they were running what they call a mole under the street, and they were running them far too shallow, and they were leaving like a mole trail on the asphalt. So that's a whole nother problem. Probably, and And like I said, and there were at least 3 companies, and they had a ton of workers, and we did have multiple problems with them around town, from leaving debris on people's yards and in the streets that affected people's property, and the runners and bikers on the streets, and safety and a lot of that. We had language barrier when we were, I tried several times to talk to people at sites. It wasn't possible because there was nobody there that really could communicate to me. They'd hand me a card to call somebody. That was a challenge. We ultimately, with Comcast, I think it was, Comcast was the only one that we finally got an upper-up person. But we got an upper-up person only because I threatened to shut them down because they hadn't paid the town of Orange for police department special duty service to the tune of almost, what was it, John, almost $500,000. And so when they found out they were going to be shut down on Friday, they FedExed a check to us to cover what they hadn't paid. But I do have a person for Comcast, but Comcast isn't the only individual in this. Optimum was near impossible for me to get through to people. I think I ended up talking to people in Texas on Optimum. Comcast, they have a regional person. And Infinity is the other one, I think. I think they were working with Comcast. That was another one that was doing it. But there were, or maybe they were with Frontier. But we had at least 3 working, and they haven't completed their work in a lot of areas. There's a lot of cable hanging up by Hilltop Road on Grassy Hill. It's really kind of dangerous, and I made a note of that one. Right by, on the Post Road by Bull Hill Lane by the bus shelter, right where people are waiting for the bus and all, there's huge coils of cable and all there and all. So I'm compiling a list, but I don't actually know who owns which cable. So I have to call all of them, and then they try to sort it out, is the problem we're dealing with.
I appreciate that, but isn't it, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but if it were me, I would just go to the CEO of each one of those companies. They haven't
Well,
always said the president.
that's what we've done,
Because
and
in my neighborhood, they left 4-foot holes wide open. I mean, no one got hurt, but it's just a matter of time.
no, but
And it's
that's,
sloppiness, and they have total disrespect for property.
and that's what I done, which is how then either Ann or myself receive either emails or actual phone calls from people that are supposed to be their regional management, all right?
Well, we got it, but it feels like they're still going ahead, even based on your comments, so
They're,
you were able to shut them down because they weren't paying.
well,
Why
we
not
didn't,
shut them down because they're doing a really
And-
extremely sloppy, dangerous.
and that we've had discussions with them on, it's just a matter of trying to find out which one it is.
I can give you both, I mean, you can start with Optimum, I can show you the pictures from Optimum.
Yep.
I can show you the pictures from, who's the other?
Comcast, that one I have, Optimum I have,
Frontier,
and
Frontier, like I said.
Frontier's the worst of the bunch.
They went away.
Yeah, they
At least
did.
in my neighborhood.
Well, they're bankrupt, basically.
Yeah, I think
So that's what the problem was.
required. But I think those
But-
two companies, I would buy shares personally of both of those companies and show up at the shareholders meeting.
Oh.
That's one way to get their attention. But I'm dead serious, that if you can stop them because they're not paying you, you have to be able to stop them. This committee has to be able to stop them because they're disrupting our residents.
They work to resolve. Mr. Britton was out with their different groups multiple times, so I don't know if he's been out on that, but I will have discussion with him on this.
Because it is gonna cost us all in this room eventually, and that's why I'm here too. Because the shoddy job they're doing, you are gonna have to repave and repair our roads as soon as winter comes. I showed it to Selectmen Goldblatt, you can see where the road's just gonna come right up the first freeze we get. And we're gonna have to, as taxpayers, which we already pay, so I'm gonna have to pay now to repair what they did, which is obscene.
So
We're gonna
we,
turn around and try to
we,
charge
we are getting some cooperation, as I'll leave it at that, with them on some of these things. If you had called my office instead of going to Mitch, however, I could have given you some of the direct contacts, so.
Are you in the office tomorrow?
I am in and out tomorrow. There's multiple things, but I can get it for you.
I mean, I can, if I can help, by the way, let me know.
Well, we have the information. You just have to call the town hall. Don't call Mitch. Call the town hall, and and we'll get you the information.
It's always 1-800.
Well, that's good, but he doesn't always have it anymore. So, okay. Yes.
One thing that Glenn did point out to me, though, and he's just mentioned, is the curb-to-curb cuts in the road. Doesn't anyone, if they're going to cut a road, have to go through our town engineer?
They have a blanket permit for road cuts.
So they don't have to tell us where they're going to cut and when?
I think they do when they start, but I can't tell you. Again, that would be through the building department.
Okay.
So I can't tell you if they do or they don't.
Yeah. 'Cause the-
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do.
Well, I said they need permission, but not specific ones. You said
Not
they have a blanket,
daily,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's important, not just for the folks on Rainbow Trail, but anywhere else in town where they're cutting under, to go the underground
No,
utilities.
They
need to-
we've had some payments and work
And
with them.
pave that road. Thanks, Jim.
All right. With that said, I have, our thoughts are with both the family of Mike Clemens and Nancy Beck, two of our longtime town volunteers, local residents, business owners, contributors to this community for many years. Mrs. Beck at 93, passed away a couple weeks ago, and Mike Clemens, after a year-and-a-half battle with cancer, passed away. We lost two really good residents in them. Every resident we lose is really good, but those were two that were very large contributors to us. Many of you may have seen Helen Kuzil. They had signs, they had a caravan. She was sitting out in front of High Plains, and Helen Kuzil uses our swimming pool at the town pool every day. She just celebrated her 108th birthday. Yeah, she lives with her daughter, Barbara Schmidt, and, and she's still with it and swimming and can talk about today's topic. She's an amazing, amazing lady. Happy birthday to Helen Kuzil, really. Starting October 2nd, the OVNA will be conducting flu clinics at the community center. For more information on that, you contact the Orange Visiting Nurse Association at 203-891-4752. And then, of course, let's not forget the Orange Country Fair is coming up the 21st and 22nd. It actually starts Friday night. I think they're having a pickup truck pulled down in the pit Friday evening. So after you bring in your entries, you can watch the young yahoos break their pickup trucks. And the last thing, many people aren't aware of this, but about 3 weeks ago, we finally got notice. It took 90 days. We applied to the Department of Housing. We applied for, this board voted to approve it, for a moratorium on affordable housing. So when a developer comes in, if they get annoyed with us and they say, well, if you don't approve this, we're applying for an 830G affordable, which in those cases, it's not up to the developer to prove why you don't need it. It's up to the town to prove why it doesn't work with us. Well, we had more than enough points through all of the affordable units that we have worked on over the years in multiple locations, a few here, a few there, a few in another spot. And we were able to we have a 4-year moratorium on affordable housing applications in Orange. That was a lot of work done by Ann and Pat O'Sullivan, Mary Shaw, Vin Marino. I'm sure there's Jack, Mark Brancasi, the assessor. It took a tremendous amount of work and boxes, reams of paper to do this, but we did, and we've received calls. Ann received a call from Bethel the other day. They're following us on this because we've done such a good job with providing. The state had us listed at 1.08% affordable within the town, and it turned out we were actually at almost 7% of the 10% It was 6.67, I think, or something like that. So people were quite surprised when it was all compiled. And Carol Martin actually was the one who brought it to our attention, who is the developer of that new project, the fully affordable project down on Smith Farm Road. So that's something, the town of Orange received another feather in their cap. We are providing affordable housing in multiple locations within the town.
Can I just add something quick to that? I know you don't like me, but that's okay.
Between the bell and I don't like me, I don't know.
I'm having issues today. So the town needs, in order to qualify for a 4-year moratorium, needs 109.5 points. That's the housing equivalent points. They validated, in addition to approving our application, an additional 92.5 points that we can use toward our next application. So that would, if we reapply at any time, beginning tonight, we can get an additional 4 years. That would give us 8 years, and we only have to make it to 109.5. We're at 92.5, and they rejected all of our military housing. Military, why? Because I don't know yet. But
That was the most obvious.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So, and the military housing, if they review that and we give them whatever they fail to understand, that'll give us 20 points. So we're at 92.5, we got to get to 109, military's 20 points, that would give us 8 years. So,
Okay.
well, we're going to, but just wanted to let you know.
Good job.
Okay. Thank you. So that's my announcements.
Good job.
All right, minutes. To consider and act on the minutes of the August 14th regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Were there any errors, omissions, or corrections? If so, tell me page and paragraph so they could be handled. If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. New business. We have a vacancy on the Board of Selectmen. Last month, Selectman Ralph Okenquist retired from the board, and we did a review of several people who were interested in the position, and I ultimately landed with Mr. Bill Kraut. And we told him, nah, come, it'll be just a few minutes. So with that said, I put before you the name and person of Bill Kraut, who's currently the chairman of the Orange Board of Education, to fill the vacancy created by the retirement of Ralph Okenquist. Is there a motion to be made on that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions on that or any discussion on that? No?
Will he have to do the bell?
That's up to John. So,
What's his experience with the bell?
so all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those abstain? Unanimous. All right, now, so that is the other reason that Mrs. Shaw is here tonight as town clerk. I need Mr. Kraut, congratulations, and Mrs. Shaw to the front of the room, and she will swear him in, and he will then sit at the table. She's right there, Bill. Phyllis, you can get up and come up closer if you want to take his picture. Michaela's crying, so she can't do it.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, your duties as a selectman for the town of Orange to the best of your abilities? So help you God.
I do.
All right, congratulations.
You went to the Board of Ed?
Oh, wow. I think their font is different.
She went to the Board of Ed and stole it.
Now that's good recycling.
See that?
Good for you.
Wow. All right, Bill, now sit down.
You're 2 minutes a while ago. And he gets candy on the first night.
Yeah, what the heck? Congratulations.
All right. You don't need to be filmed.
No, we don't. No. All right, goodbye. Thank you, Mrs. Shaw. Okay. Mr. Kraut, welcome to the board. You know the routine. When you speak, hit the button. That's it. That's it. Okay.
You're in.
All right. She's so excited for her dad. You're old enough now, start to consider following suit. We have other places. We have other places. And, and Phyllis. Oh, wait a minute. And Phyllis, I begin cooking on Monday, so your crew will be up there in the cafeteria kitchen. We will be working. Phyllis is on my crew for the fair in preparing all the pulled pork and all that stuff that we do. So, I mean, last year I think I cooked 660 pounds of pork butts. So, and Phyllis is on the crew that makes it all into great sandwiches. So, Michaela helps in that tent too.
Jim, just a procedural question?
Yes.
Now that Bill is here, do you now have to appoint someone to the Board of Ed to fill his spot, and does that come to us
We
as
will
well?
be doing that in October.
Thank you.
We are fishing for candidates, and we have narrowed it down, and we will probably have the name of somebody on your October agenda. Thank you for your concern, Mitchell. Okay. To consider and act on the bid recommendations for the police station roof, Mr. Britton is on this one. That's why I looked up. Mr. Britton, you put before us bids for the police department roof. Is this for the entire building?
Yes.
Okay. And do we have money in the, set in the capital account to cover this? Okay, so we have, yeah, well, we have the money, and it's for the whole roof, so,
I believe the police department's been asking for a new roof for something like 10 years. They've had leaks that they've been repairing. This one, the material we're using is the EPDM or rubber, which is what was used next door on the highway garage roof about 8 years ago, and we haven't had a problem with that. You'll see the bids. We got very good bids, and Silktown, the references were excellent. Some of the people we called, Milford Board of Ed and stuff, said we would use them every time if we could. Of course, they have to go through a bid process. There's a couple of optional things. 60 mils is what we bid, because that was what the cost estimate was based on, but we asked for a price. What would it cost to do 90 mils, which 60 mils is, say, standard, and 90 mils more like heavy duty. So 5% additional to get roughly 50% more life. So I'm recommending that you consider that. The demolishing the gas pump canopy, it's not necessary to do the roof job. It's something the police department has wanted for years and has requested a capital project for, just hasn't been approved. So again, it's an optional thing, and it looks like the price we got was good. And we definitely want to have a contingency because we know there's
let's hold up there. Why do they want to get rid of they no longer get fuel over there? We provided all at the Public Works garage. But what is so important to demolish that piece of roof?
It's not critical. They park one vehicle under it. I guess it's not in great shape, so water falls on the vehicle anyway, even though it's under it. So it's just kind of in the way, but it's not an emergency.
So do baseballs if they park on the side by the ball field.
True. Another reason why you might want to go for the thicker roofing for foul balls.
So does this price include roofing on that got pump overhang area?
Nope. Getting rid of it, demolishing it.
We're gonna get rid of it.
It was an optional. It's not related to the roof, but
Okay.
police department asked us to get the price. So if you look in the end, I've added up what we recommend, contingency. So I'm recommending that you award to the low bidder, Silktown Roofing, in the amount of $432,500. And recommend you allocate an additional $96,000
to cover those extras and a contingency. And the Board of Finance has allocated $400,000, but they'd have to allocate more. So they'd probably be looking for the Board of Selectmen's recommendation on whether to go forward with the project, and if so, whether to do the alternate prices.
John?
If you do all the options, the Board of Finance would have to allocate another $96,000 to,
Where would that come from?
would come from capital. And I have talked to the chairman about it, and he doesn't really see a problem.
Is it more than enough in there? The only thing I'll say about Silktown, they do good work, except they did the roof on High Plains, and we had problems. The material did not hold up, which you're well aware of, because you were chasing, we had leaks where it cooked due to sun exposure in multiple locations, but that was over time. But the other problem we had, when they fastened it on the building, it was like a metal of some type, I don't know if it was aluminum or what, but a plating along the eaves, and it like tucked in and clipped into that. And we had some very windy weather right after they did that. John Van Arman was still working here then. And I remember John Stewart, and he had to go along with some scab boards and nail it because those metal panels didn't hold, and the wind was right underneath it, and we almost lost the whole membrane off that south wing of that building. So that's my only concern
Yeah,
with that. Tell them the first selectman
we're still
doesn't forget
having
much.
some issues with that system. I don't think they, I could be wrong, I didn't think they were the contractor on
Yeah, they
on there.
were.
Okay.
Yeah, they were. Like I said, the first selectman doesn't forget much.
Well, this one's gonna be different. That one is not adhered down, this one's gonna be glued down
Yeah,
everywhere.
no, this is a different type of
Yeah.
roof. It's not a pitched roof, it's a flat roof, I realize that. But they do put a piece of a metal
Yep.
edging up along the top of the building, all the way around along the block. So, I didn't know if they had something similar. I don't want it to happen again, is all I'm saying.
Got it.
Is there a motion to be made
So moved
with the addendums?
with the addendums.
Okay.
And the request of the Board of Finance.
And the request of the Board of Finance. Mr. Cifarelli will take care of that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous.
Thank you. Welcome to the board, Mr. Kraut.
It's coming.
Coming.
First day's kind of tough for the kid.
Item number 3 is to consider and act on the recommendation of the pension board to add the Roth option to the 457 deferred compensation plan with a start date of the first payroll period in January of 2025. Chairman of the pension board, Mr. Henlon, is here, and our Voya representative is also here, as this is part of their project, I'm going to call it. So I don't know, or one or both, or whatever you want to do.
Thank you, Jim. Eric Henlon, I'm chairman of the pension board. Just to keep this brief so you don't ring the bell on me. So about a year and a half ago, I was here and this board approved a change in providers for the defined contribution plan that's offered to town employees and the 457 plan to Voya. I will say that the feedback that we've gotten since then is employees seem to be happy with that change. John and his group in finance are happy. The service seems to be better, the information better, investment options better. So that's worked out. So thank you for that. What's come up since that time is the federal government passed, and as you said, it was called the Secure Act. One of the options and that's allowed is And the difference between the two plans that we have with Voya is, one is a defined contribution called a 401A plan. Contributions are made by employees on an after-tax basis. There's also the 457 plan, that's elective. Employees can contribute to that on a pre-tax basis only. The Secure Act allowed for the town to offer an option to employees on the 457 plan, what's called a Roth option. A Roth option means that they can contribute on an after-tax basis. This would be no cost to the town. This would be purely voluntary on the part of employees that want to participate. The pension board had a discussion with our representatives from Voya, and the pension board voted unanimously to recommend to this board to accept that and offer that as an amendment to our contract with Voya so that we could offer that to the employees. And with the effective date of January 1st, and the reason for that is, should it be accepted, we need some time to make the changes with payroll systems to be able to accept those
there you
withholding
go.
amounts. So that's our recommendation is, that we would like the board to approve this amendment to the contract.
Thank you.
Would you like to explain anything further with that, or do you think the chairman did pretty well? I'm asking Victor from Voya.
Yeah, no, it actually complements the financial planning for a lot of the folks in the town, as they perhaps have job transitions, they may have Roth monies in their previous employer plans. So as part of my consultation with them, should they have those Roth monies from other companies?
They can bring it
help
over.
complement.
Now, would this be open to all employees, or just those that are in the current 457 plan?
Selective option in the 457 plan, you have the pre-tax option, and then this Roth be a complement to, as a bonus.
There's 9 current town employees.
In the 457?
457, other than us elected or officials, mostly police, a couple other people, and there's one person from the Board of Ed participating right now.
So those are the people that could consider this.
In addition to anyone else that wants to,
Oh, the people in the 401 could also?
yes,
Oh, okay, all right. So they could sock away more money.
especially with the 457 plan, the pre-tax gives a potential tax benefit, tax deduction. The Roth also be a complement as well. And in fact, the Secure Act, it's a mandate by 2026, any wage earners that earn over 145,000, catch-up provisions would be a mandate using a Roth option versus pre-tax. So there's a Secure Act that would be.
And this Roth option is post-tax.
After tax, correct.
With the Roth, after a 5-year duration, and it's 2 stipulations, 5-year duration since inception, and if you're over 59 and a half, anything thereafter is tax-free. So it's part of all the financial.
I'm way over that.
But again, it'll be a mandate by 2026 nonetheless, so.
Okay. Any other questions for either of these gentlemen? PJ's probably up on this better than most.
It's just a great idea. Yeah, I mean, just giving our employees more options. Most plans that are implemented, 401K side, this is kind of the box is checked already when you implement it, and they have the choice. Do they want to do the Roth, or do they want to do the pre-tax? So
Okay.
I'm all for it. I'll recommend it.
Say Victor's agreed to come and do employee group
Meetings.
Employee education, yep.
like we did when we transferred over.
Over. Yeah, it's, employees, I've heard a lot of positives since we have swapped over from the old company to this Voya plan. So, I still don't look at mine, I leave it to you.
Our company colors are orange, so.
See that? Okay, if there's,
Motion to approve, allowing our employees to pick up a Roth option on the 457 deferred compensation plan with a start date of first payroll in January 2025.
Second.
okay, Mitch, is this the end of your pension report, or do you have anything? Right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4 is to consider and act on the town always has the first right of refusal on any of those homes that are on Smith Farm and Sybil Street down there. So this was the house that was owned by Gene Vership, who passed away at I think 92. The family has somebody who wants to purchase that home, and everything is in line, and then they came to us and said, has the town waived their right of first refusal? I said, no, we will, we'll put it on in September. So this is to waive the right of first refusal for 349 Smith Farm Road, formerly the Gene Vership property.
Okay, so moved.
Okay, motion made. Is there a second by Mitch? Any other discussion? We're going to have a little discussion after we vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. We've gotten an interesting problem, and actually I have to have Vin look into it because we were just discussing it today. It turns out there's a couple homes there that have been quitclaimed from one person to another. And those particular homes have guidelines on them that you have to qualify for, income guidelines and all. And a couple properties have been quitclaimed, and I'm not sure if that's allowable or not. So Vin's going to have to do some research into that, he or one of its staff, because I don't know. You're circumventing the qualification process. We own the land under these homes, and they pay a yearly fee for that nominal fee, but the person then actually owns the home. And so we're going to look into that to find out if that is allowable. We just had a second one that happened. I was unaware of it. And so we're going to look into that and find out a little bit more about that.
So is quitclaim, is that even allowed in this situation?
We don't know.
Oh, got it.
That's
All
what I
right.
don't know. Okay. Item number 5 is to consider and act on fireworks for the 4th of July celebration for, believe it or not, 2025. Mrs. Denny is Johnny on the spot. She called up the fireworks people now and put them on the spot for next year. And they held the same price as long as we didn't have it on the 4th of July, which is a Friday. So, Mrs. Denny, she told them our date would be Saturday, July 5th, with a rain date of Sunday, July 6th. And they agreed to hold it at the same amount. So with that said, is there a motion to be made on that one?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. I think that's great. To have it on a Saturday night is ideal, really. That's your best case scenario. Will you stop with the camera on? All right, Mitch feels he has more to say on pension board committee. Mitchell?
Yeah, I do, and Eric's still here, so in case there's anything I miss, he'll add in. But the pension board, besides our major endeavor with the Roth that you've just passed, thank you very much. Want a couple things to report. Just on our quarterly review, our year-to-date portfolio is up 4.2%, giving us a total market value right now of $27 million in our pension funds. But most importantly is we also heard our yearly actuarial evaluation from Milliman. And we get 2 reports. One is for the employees and one is for the police. They're all employees, but there's two different plans.
Yeah.
So the town employee plan moved from, over the past year, from the valuation, went from 6.7 million in market value to 7.2 in market value, and we had a return in that past year of over 14% in our investments. I lost it here a second ago. It's 14 point something. And 14.87. And even with that, our contribution into next year's budget does go up, but by not a very large amount this year. On the town side, it's going to go from 615,000 and some change to 669,000 and change. So about a $54,000 increase that'll be required from the town to keep us
Whole.
meeting the actually determined contribution recommendation from Milliman. And on the police side, we earn the same, well, actually a little bit more, I'm not sure why, but 14.97%. We invested pretty much the same. And on the police side, we went from a value of $17,800,000 to $20,400,000. And that actually determined contribution goes from $2,078,000 from this current year to $2,108,000 some change next year, pretty much a $30,000 increase, which is pretty minimal for our police retirement plan. So that's the report, but I want to bring you up to date. And if there's any questions, Eric will answer them.
Probably could have been subject to change after the market so far this week.
They go up and down all the time. Still going in the right direction.
Okay, Fred Wolf Park Ad Hoc Committee.
Thanks, Eric.
We are meeting Thursday, September 26th at 6:30 here. We've been in discussions with BNL about the plan for the master plan.
Hi, Daddy.
No disrespect. And that master plan is going to be a situation where BNL is going to work with the town and come up with ideas that there's a lot of ideas that the town has already suggested, meaning residents in this town. But in addition to that, BNL is going to solicit the public for input. So when this plan is finally completed, it's going to be something that the town really wants. So we're on our way, and we look forward to working with BNL going forward.
And what was that date?
September 26th, which is Thursday at 6:30. Got it, Tom? Anything else?
Yeah,
Keith?
thank you, John. Jim, you and I had talked about this earlier, John, you and I did as well. We'd like to get that date where that lease for I know it's not lease, but I'm calling it lease, for the cornfield that's adjacent to Fred Wolf Park comes up. So we're prepared, and that doesn't sneak up on us. And I know that there's a longer opt-in for the current leasee than there is for us to opt out. So my recommendation would be, once we find the date, if we could, instead of doing another 2-year lease, maybe do a 1-year option, just so that we know that this is going to be a process that's going to take a little while, but we don't think it's going to take 2 years to get the master plan and then moving forward. So if we could do a 1-year renewal on the lease, I think that would benefit the committee.
That will come up, I think, January, February,
Okay.
I believe, and that would be determined at that time.
Wasn't it earlier than that, Jim? Because wasn't it a 6-month, and it was in April? When was this last time?
They run out the end of the calendar year, I think, but nobody's doing anything in January, so
Right, but I want to make sure we don't, I think PJ's got a good point. We don't lock ourselves in for 2 years if we don't act
no, that's what he said,
proactively.
but no, I think,
Okay.
I don't.
I thought
we'll look
October-
at it.
October
I'll-
said-
I thought they had a longer opt-in window than we had. I want to say they had like a 6-month opt-in. Right.
That needed to be given.
Right, that was longer on their end than ours or something, yeah.
So I think if we just know the date as a refresher.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. With that said, is there a motion to close? Not yet. Close the regular meeting to convene into executive session. The executive session is for 2 items. The first one is an agreement between the Town of Orange and ASME Local 1303-316, Council 4, which is the school nurses contract. And then the second is a personnel discussion item. I would ask that we also invite in the fire marshal is here. Mr. Cifarelli is here. And why are you here? Is there something that I missed?
No, I figured I might just come stay at the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were, I didn't know if you were support therapy or something. So that would be the motion, to do that and, invite those two people in. And, all right. All right, so we will go into executive session at, looks like 8:30 something there. The glare, I swear I'm gonna change that clock. The contract was first. So we're back from executive session. We had a contract and a personnel issue to discuss, and it is now 9:30. Thank you. On the first item that we discussed was the contract between the Town of Orange and the Ask Me group that, which is the school nurses. We felt that the contract negotiations were fair on what was requested and what was settled upon. Is there a motion to be made on that contract?
So moved.
Okay, motion is made and seconded on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain, unanimous. The second item was a personnel issue involving the fire marshal's department. And is there a motion to be made on that?
Yes, yeah, it'd be a motion to make a salary adjustment for the fire marshal effective with the next pay period.
Second.
Okay? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous.
Okay, Bill, yours.
Is-
You can do the motion.
You have to turn on your mic. Ralph.
Sorry.
Pull that forward for him. Just grab it by, there you go. Okay. Is there
Farewell
any other business to come before the group?
Turn the lights out, the party's over. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting at, what time is it? 9:32.
Second.
Thank you. All right.
Good job.
We're adjourned.